Greetings, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. On March 31, the Ministry of Trade and Industry disclosed that it was strengthening the manufacturing ecosystem through implementation of an apprenticeship program for the non-energy manufacturing sector. We are happy to discuss this further with Ministry of Trade and Industry, Senator Paula Gopee-Scoon. Busy days ahead, Senator. How are you doing, Minister?
Not bad at all, actually. Good days. Good days are busy days.
All right, so we're going to start this from the ground up, and we have a lot to go through. So what is the apprenticeship program, please?
So this is an apprenticeship program, and let me emphasize the non-energy manufacturing sector. It came out actually from the roadmap, the second phase, transform into a new economy and a new society. And the recommendation came out also after some work which was done on to assess the labor market performance, and in order to boost the manufacturing sector. This is a program that we came up with to ensure that we have the necessary skills to really move the sector ahead.
All right, and thank you for that. And I want to ask, who are some of the stakeholders involved? Because there were questions put forward to whether or not this program would be supplanting anything or getting anything out of the way, like MIC, I think, was one of those. So what do you say to that? And who are the stakeholders who are engaged to make this happen?
Well, the big player is the Ministry of Education, and coming out of the Ministry of Education, the National Training Agency, also the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, MIC, a key partner in actually delivering the program, and of course the TTME, which is a significant partner also in the program, and the Ministry of Trade and Industry.
What's the significance of this initiative as it pertains to the industrial revolution that we're experiencing at this point in time?
Good. So we would have spoken about the program when I first enlightened the public, and I spoke about the key components in terms of the actual program. And this would have been manufacturing technology, electronics technology, and mechatronics was one of the programs. And mechatronics is the invitation really to Industry 4.0. So it focuses on automation and ICTs and so on. Absolutely necessary if we are to compete with the rest of the world. Mechatronics is important, but of course the base subjects are in there in terms of the mechanical engineering and industry training, etc.
Now I'm looking at the fact that I believe when I saw the age range, it was from 17 to 25 years. This is a very interesting age group because yes, there are people who are thinking about what's next. How are you use the term enlightening the public. How are you getting this message across to individuals who may be leaving the secondary school system saying, okay, well, this is a possibility, career fairs or just getting that information across?
But part of the expenses is for marketing and promotion, because we want to ensure that we really take it to the right segment that we're hoping to attract. So you're talking about persons who would have come out of a craftsman training program, or persons coming out of secondary school, or persons already in the workplace, but young people already in the workplace in a manufacturing company or so, who may want to now be trained, and they can then migrate into the program. And that's why we wanted to make sure we had a stipend. So if they were already working, they can in fact come out and be part of this education and skills training program.
And I like the fact that you talk about stipend. Give me an idea of the figure now, and is it this per month, is this, and when does it start? Do I need to wait until 2 months or 3 months have passed?
No. The first month, at the end of the first month, you would get your stipend, which is $3,000. And it makes sense maybe to think about even giving them ahead, right? So the $3,000 is to enable them to at least be able to transport themselves to school, or transport in the second and third years to the workplace, because don't forget it's a theory and a practical training program. But the stipend will allow them to at least exist and provide their meals, etc. And again, to attract those coming out of the actual manufacturing industry, they would not leave if they didn't have a stipend, right? Because they're accustomed to getting a little bit of money. So this would entice them to actually get into training and scale up and to enhance their skills.
And I think that is something to also appreciate in the sense that if I'm already in the sector, why would I want to come out to go back in because I already have a toehold? So hopefully tenure would give me some advantages, some links. But even looking at the fact that there are these individuals and this age, I'm a person who at points in time I've worked 3 months. You spoke about theory and practical. Does it start from general and then narrow down to specifics? How does the program roll out?
So it's a 1 to 3 practical, theory practical program. So the first year, it's fully theory. And I gave you an idea of the subject matter: mechanical engineering, mechatronics, etc., electronics technology, and so on. So that's in the first year, it's all theory. In the second year, however, they are in the workplace for 4 days a week, and then they come back to MIC, and this is MIC either Port of Spain or San Fernando, and then so they do the 1 day catch up with their academics. So it's and the theory, and it's that blend that will take them forward. So for the second phase of the program, the first phase all theory, second phase part theory, part practical. It's 4 days, 1 day at 4 days at the workplace, 1 day at MIC.
Sounding good so far, Minister. Where does the private sector come in? Because what the output of the education system is the input of the workforce. So what part does private sector play in this initiative?
But it's a huge part, because remember what we want to do is to make sure that we double in line with the TTMA's goals of doubling certain segments of the manufacturing sector, exports, and the only way we could do that is to ensure that they in fact have the necessary persons with the skills and the training necessary to do that, to make them competitive, etc. But when we were doing this program, there was a skills gap analysis done, an entire foresighting survey done by the NTA, and that highlighted all of the gaps within the manufacturing sector. So these 2 surveys were done 2019, 2021 with the sector, and that identified the gap and also the particular actual jobs where there were vacancies. And that is that to me is what we need to focus on. So absolutely necessary. There are a number of manufacturers who are on industry players who are already in an engagement with MIC. In other words, they have this list of 150 industry players, but that has to be expanded because we now have about 500 manufacturers who are members of the TTME alone. So beyond, and there are a number of them who are not members of the TTME. So all of these manufacturers are going to be aligned to ensure that they fit into the program, and there's the placement into industry in year 2 and year 3. And then after that, then of course, the permanent placement into a particular industry, not industry, but in a particular organization. So they play an integral part from the get-go. In fact, we listened to them in the consultations with regard to the roadmap and designing the roadmap. We listened to the TTME, and this is a need that they identified.
Thank you so much. And this is a conversation that we continue on the other side of the break. We are speaking with Senator Paula Gopee-Scoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, specifically about the apprenticeship program for the non-energy manufacturing sector. And I think we also want to get a little more into why non-energy manufacturing, but we do that when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are going in depth on the aims and logistics of the apprenticeship program for the non-energy manufacturing sector. We're doing so with a Minister of Trade and Industry, Senator Paula Gopee-Scoon. And is it a bit of jealousy, or is it that you find that for the energy sector, the program is working well, so you want to replicate it?
No, it's not about that at all. It all comes down to the economy. And so, of course, for decades, we have focused on the energy sector, rightly so. We're so well endowed in terms of oil and gas. And the country did well. And through successive governments, we would have diversified from just being producers of oil and exporters of oil to the gas industry, the natural gas industry, and subsequently further downstream to methanol and ammonia, so much so that we are known around the world as a little country that really punches above its weight in terms of energy, especially as we export tremendous natural gas products, as I said, ammonia, methanol, UAN, etc. However, one must understand, and the population has come to know, that we are price takers, and it really depends on the export markets and the prices of our energy products. We would have had spells within the last few decades where oil prices and energy prices dipped significantly, and that affected our revenue base. No longer, and so is the current situation where during COVID we saw where oil prices and oil prices dipped to zero, and then even below zero. So these are hard lessons to be taught. But again, intermittently in the 80s, and again during the COVID period, and of course I think it would have been at the end of 2014 going into 2015, etc. Understanding that we are price takers, obviously we are affected by in our revenue streams, and therefore we have to be serious about diversifying our economy. Diversification is key, and therefore we will always be relevant in terms of energy because it's a natural resource. However, diversification is key to ensure that we are not totally dependent, and that volatility which affects us is not there. So therefore, manufacturing becomes important in that it's something that we've been doing since the 80s, and we've been doing very well. The industry is quite a catalyst for growth, and therefore the focus has to be there on our yachting, on our maritime services, on our agro-processing industry as well. So the focus has to be on diversification, not forgetting oil and gas, but focusing on what else we can do well.
But another hard lesson that we would have learned during the pandemic, Minister, is the need to be flexible, to be able to move to suit the changing currents that we find ourselves adrift in. So how quickly is this apprenticeship program going to be on the cards, saying, okay, well, this is a living, breathing thing that has a cohort of students moving forward? What date, what timelines are we looking at?
So the advertisements would be in the press next Wednesday. And students are going to be given, I think, about 2 weeks to respond. And of course, not just the students, but the trainees and the other people who will come from the manufacturing sector. It'll be open to the public, and we expect responses within 2 weeks. We are looking to have the first intake of students before the end of May, and a launch perhaps just a week or so before.
I like the fact that you raised the point of being price takers. Are there any entrepreneurial elements being put into the program? And I ask that question because it's one thing to say, okay, well, this is what the private sector says we need. But as opposed to just saying, okay, well, we're finding people to plug holes into spaces, building capacity in that way, but also having the mindset saying, okay, well, this is something that I can see, I can do a little different and make a difference in Trinidad and Tobago and beyond.
For the student or for the trainee? And for the student or trainee, it's very important to be skilled so that you become an international person. So the world is at your fingers. I mean, if it is that you will, if you wanted to, suppose, transfer your skills into the region, you can in fact find a place in any industry that is doing well within the region. For the manufacturing sector, also key. And so especially as we talk about Industry 4.0, competitiveness, the only way that we're going to do well in the marketplace is if we're really up there and really internationalized. And that's what we're doing. In fact, making sure that the manufacturing sector becomes completely internationalized, that we no longer look just at the region, but we have to look externally as well. And the only way we can do that is ensuring it at every level we are producing goods that are of a national standard and can compete anywhere, and that our skills are also top notch, or else you're not going to make the grade.
But having the goods to compete on an international scale, Minister, is one thing. Having skills that are top notch is another. But does accreditation come into the mix? Because to be able to say, okay, well, I am able to perform in this space, that piece of paper is so important. How does this apprenticeship program address that?
Right. So when we thought about doing it, and after doing these surveys, we then looked at what existing material there was, what existing courses, and there are these TVET courses put on by MIC. We looked at the what is called the NSDP Journeyman Program, which we found to be quite suitable for the program. However, we needed to ensure that it really matched the manufacturing sector of today, and so we asked MIC to come up with a hybrid program, and that's how mechatronics was introduced to ensure again that they can in fact fit the fourth industrial revolution and the requirements therein. So it came out of what we already had. But it meant that using the Journeyman NSDP program, which was already accredited by Trinidad and Tobago's Accreditation Council, also the German Council of Trades and Crafts, so it has dual accreditation, the program. And therefore, being a hybrid program, it fits right into the accreditation which is enjoyed at this time. And therefore, this is a reason why we can deliver so soon. The program will be doubly accredited to this German dual apprenticeship program and also our local accreditation in Trinidad and Tobago.
And Minister, in the last 2 minutes we have, it'd be remiss of me not to ask about some of the success stories that you're experiencing within the ministry. We recently featured on TTT. One person was saying thank you to the ministry for help. That's 360, slimmed down 360, yes. Because they would have exported a container load of value-added products made from, I think it was sweet potato pasta and cassava flour. So what are some of those other instances that you can cite for us?
Well, there are several. So we really assisted him in two ways. So through the Grant Fund program, where we assisted with purchasing machinery and equipment. So we did 50% and he was able to do 50%. Then what we've done for him more recently is a certification to ensure that he can in fact enter particular markets. And that has really helped him. And so we're using the value added from an agricultural product, from two products. So we're doing pasta out. He did pasta out of cassava and sweet potato, and it's for the export market. And there are several others inside of there. The other one is chocolates. We would have assisted Montano's chocolate again with their well-branded chocolate coming out. But before, the artisans actually prepared the chocolate product for them. Now, with the assistance through the Grant Fund program, they are able, they now have a chocolate factory, which I've visited, brand spanking new equipment and so on, and now they are enjoying the certification program as well. There's another interesting one. The first one that we did under the certification program, which is under the Export Booster Initiative, what that business is able to do is to actually provide all the bread products that are required for Subway International. So we are actually saving foreign exchange through that program. And having been certified, he first had to become certified, he then was able to produce this sandwich under the actual bread, the various types of bread Subway uses, under the, satisfy the certification, and based on that, we are saving, I think it's close to $1 million US per annum. And of course, further, he's then looking to provide the rest of the region with these breads. So this is really very good. We're just assisting as well, someone from Tobago, and she is doing all of these dried fruits from natural fruit. So you're using, I would suppose she would use pawpaw and other fruit as well. And then the same way you have dried fruits, she's done these. Again, we are assisting her with certification and also grant funding as well, so that she can put, when you're ready to do your fruit cake, you can actually buy your product from her, and it's a product that can be exported as well.
And this is part of the reason that we normally try to stick to specific things with you, Minister, because there's so many things that you can speak about, but we want to thank you for your time. Senator Paula Gopee-Scoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, talking about the apprenticeship program for the non-energy manufacturing sector. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike. Rostant. Thank you for joining us.